Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. What is up? It's Martine Williams, your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And we're back with episode 45 of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Today's episode, we are continuing our Turquoise Talks, honoring the men, the men behind the women, beside the women, the men supporting the mompreneurs, all of those things with our guest today, who is Tad Fulford. And Tad and I have been friends for a few years now. And as I've said, I've just been able to see with my own eyes how he supports his wife and his family, and just really wanted to bring him on, honor him and celebrate him, but also to let you hear how they make it work, right? Like, how do you make a marriage? And I learned they have 4 businesses and with kiddos and one on the way. So just a little bit about Tad. He is the director. It's really funny. He's like me. Like when someone asks me for a bio, I'm like, can you just introduce me like as your friend? But anyway, so he is the director of opportunity. I love that because he is always seeking opportunity in every situation. Tad is a 1991 graduate of NC State University and spent the first 10 years of his professional career as a PGA golf professional. I had no idea. Tad then decided to take a different path and received his real estate license in 2001. Family is Tad's proudest accomplishment, and you will hear that very soon as we go into this episode. He is married to Mandy and has 5 children, Casey, Lawton, Hadley, Hazel, and Archer, with one on the way. Tad enjoys anything around the water, as well as making people laugh by performing both improv and stand-up comedy. His most recent recognition was winning the 2018 Beach's Best Comic Open Mic competition in Myrtle Beach. I actually have seen him do open mic. It's super funny. Tad and Mandy have 4 businesses: real estate, insurance, mortgage, and property management. He has been recognized in his achievements as a broker licensed in North Carolina and South Carolina, Leadership CCAR 2014, Leadership Grand Strand, Board of Regents, MBA CC Leadership Grand Strand Class 38 in 2017-2018, Vice Chair of CCAR Education Committee 2018, Vice Chair of Leadership CCAR 2019. You may not know what any of those things are, but he's an amazing person. You're going to love this episode. So I hope that you are ready to be encouraged and to be challenged with this episode with Tad. So let's get to it. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Today's episode is another edition of our Turquoise Talk episode, and we're continuing to honor the men that I follow or I have a relationship with, who I see that do a really great job of encouraging and supporting their mompreneur in their life. And so we've had Scott Monroe. We had a 2-part series with him, and then we had Chris Hayes, and today we have Tad, and I'm super excited, Tad, for you to be here. And I was telling you before we came on, like, y'all, if you knew what happened on this recording before we started the recording, like, we have construction. Y'all know we moved into a new house in October, and we're making some adjustments, and the workers were here. I didn't know they were going to be here, and they ended up being right outside the room. So Tad has been on a kind of a home tour of being in my office, and now I'm sitting in my closet on like 5 stacks of pillows, which they say the closet's the best place to record a podcast. But anyway, so if I sound a little out of breath, I am. Not going to lie. But thank you again, Tad, for being on this episode. And you have so much to offer. We have been friends since the first time I spoke, I think, at a real estate event. We kind of connected, and we've just stayed in touch. And he's just one of those guys that you just want to be around. He's very encouraging and inspiring. And so that's why I asked you to be here on this podcast. So thanks again for your time today.
No, it's anytime somebody thinks I can have something to contribute, I try to. I mean, I just spend a lot of time trying to be Tad. If that's good enough for somebody, I'm happy about that. So really an honor to be here. I'm excited. I don't care if you're in a closet. I don't care if we have construction going on at our house too. So who knows? I just texted my wife a minute ago and said, hey, I'm downstairs in the workout room. I'm going to lock the doors so that I don't get interrupted. And then I had to text her back and say, no, I'm not, because they changed the doors and they don't lock anymore. So who knows what's going to happen? So we're just enjoy ourselves. And thank you for having me on here. It's great.
And it's summertime, so we could have a child walk in at any moment. It's just life.
I have a lot of those.
And one on the way. So I know you'll tell us about that in a minute. But I was talking with Tad before we started the recording that I don't really know his story or, his story with the business and with his wife, Mandy. And so just kind of share with us just, who you are, what you do, what Mandy does, all of that, your family.
Yeah. So Mandy and I have been together about 11 years. We've been married almost 8 years now. I was born in Alabama, grew up in North Carolina in Raleigh, went to NC State, graduated from there, was a golf professional for 10 years after college, played some and taught some and got burned out on that life and was going through divorce actually and moved to Myrtle Beach to learn how to sell real estate. I have 2 kids, wonderful kids from my previous marriage. I've got a 26-year-old daughter who actually works at Christian Academy. Her name's Casey. Mm-hmm. And I have a 20-year-old son who just graduated from Christian Academy and is at Liberty University he'll be a sophomore next year. Basketball player, just a great kid, and really proud of the 2 of them. Mandy and I together have 3 kids. So this is the funniest thing about me. I mean, people hear that I have a 26-year-old, and I also have a 6-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and then one on the way. So I'm 53 years old, and I don't think I have very many peers that are all my friends are like going on vacations without their kids. They're empty nesting, and I'm very much full nesting.
You're reloading the nest.
Right. But really, you'll know after our time together. I mean, my passion is my family. I think I was gifted with one thing really when I was born, and it's just being a good dad, and I enjoy that more than anything. Mandy and I met through real estate, and we were both going through transitions in our lives, and it was just a perfect time for both of us. And so we have 4 different companies. We have a real estate company, insurance company, a mortgage company, and a property management company. People ask me what we do every day, and we really help people build businesses. That's kind of our mantra. We try to figure out what kind of life people want to live and help them build a business to live that life. So very entrepreneurial. I'm very passionate about you can have whatever you want in this country, and that's what we do every day. So there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of who I am.
That's awesome. I didn't know y'all had those other businesses. Mm-hmm. So I'm learning new stuff today. So there's challenges along the way, but kind of like the mess before the success is what I like to kind of dig into with people, because that's what makes people relatable. And there is a mess. We see the highlight reel on social. We see this beautiful family that you have and this love that you and Mandy have for each other, but it's messy. Marriage is messy, business is messy, being an entrepreneur, owning 4 businesses, with children is messy. So kind of share what were some initial obstacles that you found in building those 4 businesses individually, but also together as a couple, because you both have that entrepreneur spirit. And so, while this is about honoring you, obviously, and supporting her, what does that look like for y'all?
So I think messy is, that's not my middle name, but it could be. Like our people, we had somebody come and watch our 3 young kids when we went out of town not too long ago. And after we got back in town, they stayed at our house. It was as simple as it could possibly be. But when we got back, both of the young ladies that were here looked at us and said, we have no idea how you do it. Because we just have, to me, life is about messy. It's just all the moving parts. I think, abundance is a word I use a lot. I think abundance for me is living life to the fullest. And it means messy because if you're going to take advantage of opportunities, you don't know what they are at the beginning. My wife is more like you've heard ready, aim, fire. My wife is more ready, aim, 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 and then she might fire. She's the wise one. But for me, I'm like ready, fire, and then aim.
We'll figure that out later, right? We'll figure that out later.
Yeah. So I'm more inclined to jump on every opportunity. The mess for us is trying to balance. I mean this with all respect and love of my wife. You'll know that I don't love anyone more than her, but she's not maternal. Like, she was not born to be a mom. You meet some women that are just like, that's their thing. They stay at home and that's their calling. But for Mandy, she's a businesswoman at heart. Like, she was the youngest woman ever to buy a RE/MAX franchise. She was 24. She'd only been in real estate for 6 months when she bought a franchise of a business.
Wow. And
that's just what drives her. So the hard thing for us is we have little kids in the midst of all of that. Mm-hmm. And her inclination isn't to, and mine isn't either. We kind of have different roles. Like, I would be more likely to be a stay-at-home dad than she would be to be a stay-at-home mom. So we've been working on how do we don't want to miss these years of life with our kids. And I'm older. She's 13 years younger than me. So that's the mess for us. Like, how do we balance personal, professional? All the businesses they're very affiliated, so they run together. It's not like we're in different types of businesses. They're affiliated. So it's not that difficult. And for us, it's all about the right people. And you know this, for all your success in your businesses, is if you have the right people around you, it becomes much more easy. But at the end of every day, we look at each other and we're like, what has happened? Is everybody, are the kids alive? Like, is everybody alive? And then if the answer is yes, we've had a successful day. So that's it for us. It's just trying to balance. And I think everybody deals with it. We're not any different than anyone else. We just have a lot of moving parts.
Well, and I think it's, the small things that make the big difference too. The conversations that you have with Hadley in the car, and just those moments that you find throughout the day in the midst of all the mess, in the midst of running the businesses and all of that. It may be easier for you than it is, for Mandy, but I do think it's those small moments that you can just be aware, and be alert to what's going on around you. And so I'm thinking back to when Mandy started her business. You were connected at that time, right? Or no?
No, she bought her first franchise in 2007. So about 16 years ago. Okay. We've been together about 11 years. So she had started when I joined RE/MAX. I was actually I was running a team at Coldwell Banker, and I knew that RE/MAX, the model is they pay better commissions. And so my team at that point, I just moved my team over, and I really respected Mandy. Although you should hear the story of the first time we met. It wasn't my shining moment. I'll tell you that story some other time. Waste your podcast time with that. But yeah, I moved my team over and just was I had a team of 3. We did about 100 transactions a year. And so I came on staff with RE/MAX, met her. She was at about 50 agents at that point, 40 to 50 agents. And I was very interested in the growth. That's one thing that drives me is people say, will it ever be big enough? And for me, it's like our mission is to help people live abundant lives. And I think you can't put a limit on that. It's not fair to the people that could be impacted. So we were at 40 or 50 agents when I came to her and said, I'd love to help you build this thing. And then one thing led to the next. And little did I know we would fall in love. That was the last thing on either of our minds. But that was a nice unintended consequence of the business relationship. So that's how it unfolded.
And if I had to guess, your love language is words of affirmation or quality time. I would say number 1 is words of affirmation. Is it not? There's a question coming here, but I feel like that's yours because you're so good at that. Like, I see that on your posts when you're talking to Mandy, and I know there's been hard days for her as a business owner and struggling with, what's wrong with me? I should be this mom who has that maternal instinct. Like, I didn't know that about her, but I know that's probably given her a hard time, even in her own brain, right? In her own heart, with maybe not even voicing that to you, but you do such a great job of encouraging her in public. I can't imagine what it's like behind the scenes. So when she's having a hard day, or if she comes to you with like, hey, I have this new idea and I want to do this. I know you said she's a processor. I'm a processor too. So I'm like, okay, let's get ready. What are some things that you do to encourage her or support her? Because that is a question that I get a lot with the women that I coach is, he just doesn't support me, or he's not giving me the support that I need. So what are some things that you do that you find has worked for you supporting Mandy?
Yeah, well, the first thing is when you talk about love languages, you need to know what the other person's is. Yeah. Like, hers is not the same as mine. Like, if I say all these wonderful things to her, and that's because I love hearing wonderful things. But for me, I have to know that her love language is quality time. Like if she shares this fantastic idea with me, all she wants is me to sit with her. She really doesn't even want me to say anything. I mean, she doesn't.
Which doesn't happen, right?
Nope, not at all. That's exactly right. I mean, I'm not very good at silence. She needs to have a mute button. But I think that's the first thing for spouses is try to figure out what that love language is on the other side. And it's hard for me. Like when we first met, I wrote her letters all the time because I wasn't with her all the time. Right now I'm with her all the time. So I forget to do that, but she longs for that. And a written note to me isn't the same as like if she looks me in the eye and says, "You're the best at so-and-so." Like to me, that's like the best gift ever.
Right.
So that's the main thing is know what that love language is. And then you have to be intentional. At first, it doesn't seem logical that you have to be intentional with love. When you first meet someone, it's easy. Like you're learning someone and you're getting to know and it's easy to want to give flowers or pay attention to their love language. But especially when you have all these kids and businesses, you forget that stuff is still necessary. So you have to be intentional. And intentional love is like, it's almost an oxymoron in a way. Like love seems like it should be natural, especially if it's the right kind of love. But I don't think that's true. I think you have to be intentional and you have to set like a date night for her is essential.
Right. Yeah.
I could go a month without it, but it's not because I don't love her.
Right.
It's just because I'm like, and I can clean the house perfectly and I can say all the right things. And to her, if I just leave the house messy, not say a word and take her to Frank's, that's way better than all of that other stuff.
Oh yeah.
So just knowing it, I think is important.
Yeah, for sure. That was a huge aha for Sean and I. We went to a marriage conference years ago and I thought, why do people not have to do this before they get married? And now they have it like in the workplaces. And I think it's essential also to know if you have a team, like what is their love language, and what are their strengths and be able to harness those as you're working with them. But so what has been like a lesson that you have learned either individually or as a couple, both being entrepreneurs in business? Like what's been your biggest lesson? Because we all have.
Yeah, that's a good question. Our biggest lesson, the hard thing, I say this sometimes, not everyone has the same. Mandy has very high expectations. Okay. We have very high expectations of the people even the people we've chosen to surround ourselves with. And not everyone thinks like we do. Not everybody has the same aspirations that we have. And I think the biggest aha for us was it was about 10 years ago, really, when we first started kind of figuring out that this was not just work or a job that we were going to. For us, it's a lifestyle. And when we started thinking, you know what, everybody's definition of the perfect life is not the same as ours. Some people only want to make $50,000 a year. Some people want to make $5 million a year. And I think I did a post about this yesterday. I think it's very important as business owners to know what people want. Take the time to ask them and figure out what it's tied to. We call it a passion link. There was a book that I read that we read that in. I don't remember what it was now, but that's a terrible podcast guest that would know the name of the book. But if you Google passion link,
you can get it to me later. We'll put it in the show notes. That's the beautiful thing.
If you Google passion link, it'll probably come to it. But what is it that drives people? And also when you're surrounded by employees, like we have a bunch of employees that are not entrepreneurial, you have to speak a different language to them. So that's the business lesson that we learned. Personal lesson is probably, and we talk about this a lot, nothing else matters but our little troop. I tell her all the time, I don't care. I really don't. If it all fell apart tomorrow and well, listen, when COVID hit, I remember sitting on the couch with her and our business was deemed unessential at first, like in South Carolina, attorneys' offices were closed, which means real estate agents don't get paid, which means they don't go to work, which means we were sitting on the couch and looked at each other and said, what is our plan B?
Right.
What are we going to do if we didn't know what was going to happen. And I just looked at her and I said, you know what? I don't care if it all falls apart. I care. But if it does, I'm going to be right here. Yeah. And we're smart. We'll figure it out. Haven't we always? And so I think that's essential in all this stuff that we do. And I know you've been going through a season in your life that's very much like that. Like, you're going to be fine. You don't always know what tomorrow is.
Right.
But you're going to be fine as long as you're together. You have to make that commitment to always be there. And that's what we do on a regular basis.
Well, and I think in the commitment to, like, life is just so short. And we saw that with COVID too, and we're still seeing it now. And the commitment to not staying somewhere that you don't feel like you're in your calling or it's not purpose driven for you, and just staying because you've always stayed there, and I think a lot of people, I think I read something the other day that was it 20 million or 40 million people changed jobs in 2020. And it's because of, what we were going through, but I also think it required people to sit back and really reflect on what's really important. Is it the dollar sign, or is it the impact that I'm making? And I see that with what you do personally, but also you, Mandy, and your businesses, that is a big deal for y'all. But I think we're all kind of in that situation, and we need to stay committed to, okay, what's going to have the greater impact? That's what we're here for, in our families first. That is the priority, is our families first, our faith and our family, and then our businesses. And I think you and Mandy do a really great job of keeping the main things.
Well, we, just like everybody else, we fall a lot. We stumble a lot. We make a lot of mistakes. But I think what's most important to us, me anyway, is people's stories, like where they come from, where are they headed, and why, and really listening to that and trying to figure. I just want people, if they've been in contact with us, I want them to be better for it. Right. And that means I'm not gonna. I stand for a lot of things. I believe in a lot of things very, very passionately. But when I sit with someone that doesn't believe what I believe, they're not going to leave beat up. Right. Yeah. They're going to leave listened to and understood. And I don't have to agree. Right. And I don't think that some people would say that's weakness, but for me, it's an opportunity to continue a relationship. You never know. I read a great book called The Infinite Game by Sinek. And there's no finite, his start with why is what everybody talks about, but the infinite game was life-changing for me because it explained that there's no finish line. Like, how do you define if you win in marriage? Right. Or if you really win in business? Like, we're so used to there being a scoreboard, and like, unfortunately, we always look at the end of the year, how much money did I make, or whatever, how did we do compared to that company or this? But for us, it's like, it's a process. It goes on forever. My opinion is, if you don't quit, you never lose, right? Yeah. You just keep on trying to get to know people and build that network and become that person. So I don't know. I didn't read that book, but I don't know if it was him who said, there's not a finish line. There's just a new starting line, so there's always a new way to get better, a new starting point for that next level of growth in your business, or that next level of growth in your marriage, or the next level of growth in your parenting. So I love that. So something that's come up interesting, and it was by accident in the last 2 interviews that I did, was this idea of, the woman, the female, Mandy, being the business owner in that role, of being an income earner in the family, as opposed to it being the man. And again, it was just interesting that it came up in both interviews. I didn't even have a question around that, but they were saying that was why they felt like a lot of men struggle with supporting the mompreneur. Is because they're like, well, her role, it should be this. And that's part of like the generations before them, like their dad, that's how their dad was. And really kind of breaking that cycle of understanding, but she has dreams too. She has passions too. And she has purpose that she wants to fulfill as well. And I guess I just never really thought about it that way, but I do think that can be a huge stumbling block in marriages, especially for mompreneurs, because they're like, no, but you can make some money, but only this much. You can't make more than me. And I don't know y'all's financial situation, but what do you think about that idea? Do you think that is a block for some men when they're they want to be the supportive spouse, but they just can't get past that she's supposed to be the mom and the wife, Yeah, some people, 2022, and it's hard to believe that that's still there, but it came up in both interviews. So I'm just curious to see what you think about that. Yeah, I think people's significance lies in a lot of different places. Like people get self-worth from things. And I think their self-worth, some people's self-worth is attached to how much they bring to the family, how much they bring to the table. And they compare. Those people didn't grow up I grew up with a single mom that kicked tail. Like all I knew was that my mom, and she's been passed now for about 7 years, but I didn't know anything other than a strong woman. Right. So actually in my life, I gravitate towards those people. I'm the biggest cheerleader and the biggest advocate for it. And I know one of your questions was, was that a process, or did you have to, like, I don't have to think twice about supporting Mandy. I don't care how successful she is, whatever I have to do. This is a silly saying, like wind beneath her wings, but whatever I have to do to be that person, that's who I am. And my mom, I think, instilled that in me. We didn't have it easy. Listen, I remember the police come to our door because mom couldn't pay the bills. And I remember I joke with my kids now, like I ate cheese toast for dinner a lot when I was growing up, but my mom never quit. She had 2 or 3 jobs. She carried she was proud. She never showed us weakness really. And I wish she was still around. I could tell her more how much I appreciate that, because I didn't know that as a young man.
Right.
But as I grow up, I understand that she instilled in me the strength. And I still, like, when Mandy's getting out, I don't ever let her open her door. Like, to get in and out of the car, I'm the guy that's doing that. And that's old fashioned, but she's not going to walk in a building without me holding the door. And I'm doing the same for my daughters. And I got that from my mom. Yeah. I mean, as weird as that sounds, I got that respect from being led by a strong woman. And I'm not saying that, believe me, there are gender roles. I'm not that guy that says it's like I was at a checkout yesterday and the person's name was Alex, and I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. Right. I couldn't tell. I wanted to say yes, ma'am, but I couldn't. I didn't know. I'm not saying I'm not going there. Where I'm going is that there is equality. Yeah. And it's again, to me, it goes back to who the person is, what their story is, what they want, what their role is. And then you have to become secure with your contribution. Mandy and I are crystal clear on what we bring to the table. That's like good. She has strengths. I have strengths. She has weaknesses. I have weaknesses, and we talk about them. And it helps that I'm 53 and I've lived a little bit, and I have a gift, I think, of being very self-aware. I've made a lot of mistakes. I know what my weaknesses are, and I'm not afraid to say, hey, I can't do that very well. Right. So support is easy for me. And I don't even know what we make. Actually, I don't pay attention to it at all. I go to work. She does. Right. She does all the finances. Right. Yeah. That's a totally backwards thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't pay a bill. I don't pay a single bill. Yeah. I'm actually got the best life in the world, right? I mean, it is. I mean, I just have to cheerlead and pay attention to taking her to Frank's every once in a while. That's all I have to do. So it's pretty easy. Oh,
I love Frank's. But I think it's just a good testimony to living out your strengths, and not getting wrapped up into the cultural norms or, generations of what, your dad did or your mom did. It's okay. What are the strengths here in this relationship, in a marriage? And then what are our strengths also in running this business together? Because I remember when, I was about 5 years into my business with 31, and Shaw obviously he's more like Mandy. He's more of the analytical, the strategy and the numbers and systems. And I am like, I just want to make everybody feel great. And, just relationship. I'm all about the relationship. And Shaw is really good at that too. He's actually really good with people. But I remember asking him, I see these gifts that you have. Would you be willing to kind of be my business partner with 31 and just kind of inviting him into the process? And I think that goes back to communicating, number one, but also knowing their strengths, seeing the strengths. And then he invited me to do some things for his business. But, you have to know them for yourself, so you're not intimidated by, your spouse's strengths, but also communicating and working together to make sure you're playing in your lane, staying in your lane, Right.
And people probably should know this. I don't know if we've said this, but Mandy and I are integrated in we go to work. We don't work. We have 6 different offices, and we have a lot of like real estate offices. And then we have other businesses. I don't see her every day in the office, of course, but we don't, it's not like I have another gig and she doesn't have another gig. We are all in. People say, how do you even do it? We go to conferences, real estate conferences, and they're wondering if I'm just the spouse that's coming along. And I don't care about that, but it's that your listeners should know that we are integrated 100%. Like we're a team. Like we do this. All these businesses are ours, and this is all we do. I don't have a accounting business on the side, or I'm not making extra money, XYZ. We're all in, and I love it that way. And I think we love it that way because we talk about it all the time. And and it's not for me. It's not work and home. It's all the same. It's together. The whole thing. I don't know how to separate the two. We work to live, not live to work. Right. So that's just what we've come to adopt, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So dad guilt, I always like to talk about this a little bit because I know it's a struggle that women have, mom guilt, but since you are kind of, like you said, more of that nurturing in the family, like, is that something you've ever struggled with dad guilt? And if so, like, how did you overcome that? And does Mandy struggle with mom guilt? Yeah, Mandy struggles with it a lot because we're transitioning with this new baby on the way. And we did this on purpose. Like, this is not an accident that we're so excited about our new baby. It's a boy and can't wait. I don't think I knew that. Boy. Yeah. Yeah. Archer is so excited. Our 3-year-old is so excited. It's another boy. At least that's 99.4%. So If it's not, we're in big trouble. She's gonna wear blue. That's gonna be how it's gonna go. But this just a little while ago, I was in the car and I was talking to her about our morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want your listeners to get the impression that we have it perfectly, because we don't. Like this morning, Archer did not want to go to daycare. He just was on the floor pitching a fit. And all he wanted to do, in retrospect, all he wanted to do is go in the yard and kick soccer with Dad for a minute. Mm-hmm. That's all he wanted. But I had a meeting.
Right.
So I had to be somewhere by 8:45. I eventually canceled the meeting because I was late because he pitched such a big fit. But in that moment, and then when I got in the car is when it hit me. Like in the moment, I was like, get ready. Like, come on. You've got, I know. And I forgot he was 3.5. I thought he was 18. I'm like, get in the car. Dad has a meeting. But I bought him a soccer ball a few days ago, and he's so excited about his new soccer practice. He calls it Chaka. That's how he says it, Chaka. He got new shoes. They're baseball shoes. He doesn't know that. And he's got tall socks. He put them on this morning. And I didn't catch any of that. Like, I was so in my world that I missed it. And Mandy and I were talking today when I was riding to another meeting. And I said, I think all he wanted to do is kick the soccer ball.
Yeah.
I mean, it chokes me up almost to even think about the fact that I missed that. So when we're done on this podcast, I'm going to go get him from school early and take him to the soccer field and kick the soccer ball. Yeah. I'm a half a day late. Late. But the guilt hit me, and we feel that. Like, sometimes we talk about it again. We want to have no schedule. We just want to, summer is time where we want to do what the kids want to do sometimes, but our lives are so busy, we can't always do that. And I don't want them, I also struggle with not wanting them to think that work is a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, work took Dad away from me. That's how my dad was. And I don't want them to think work's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes we don't say we're going to work. I try to say, it sounds corny, but we're actually going to help people live abundant lives.
Right.
That's where I'm going today, so that they are excited about that potential. Maybe I don't like it too corny. Maybe I'm weird to say it that way. But yeah, mom and dad guilt is real. As a matter of fact, it was like 5 hours ago. It was real.
Yeah. So. Well, and I think because we care so much, and we want the best for our kids. And I'm like you, when I used to struggle with big time, my coach said to me, you just make it super obvious that the things like you being able to pick them up early from school, is because of the business that you have, the flexibility, being able to go and take them to Disney World or just take them to the pool or the beach, all the things that, if you were working a truly structured 9-to-5 job that women really desire to have, you wouldn't be able to be as flexible. So when they see you, because, they never say anything to Shaw because he left the house. Right. But as a stay-at-home work mom, they're seeing me work all the time. And they're like, they don't ever give Shaw any problem. They were just I'm supposed to be their playmate all day long. And so I really struggled with it. And to be able to say to them, okay, well, because of 31 at the time, we're able to go have this dinner tonight because of Daddy's business. I always tried to include Shaw's too. So they saw both, parents, working and appreciating the work. So I think that's really cool you want them to want to work, right? You don't want them to see it as a distraction, but it's life. I'm just having this conversation with my teenagers, like, this is life. This is finances. My kids are learning all about finances this summer. Shaw and I are determined to help them understand that. And so it's just communicating that with them. And kudos to you for going to pick them up earlier. I'm probably feeding into that time right now with the podcast.
No. Listen, it's so hot. He don't want to play Chaka for that long. He'll probably want to play for 30 minutes.
I know. It is super hot. I don't know where you are in the country listening, but today it's 105 in Myrtle Beach with the heat index. So super hot. Okay. So one of the things I'm passionate about coaching on as well is burnout. And it's not just something that mompreneurs go through. I know that it's not just a female thing. And it's funny because I had a couple of guys that said, why don't you coach men? Like, men struggle with burnout too. And men struggle with, finding those things that are just for them for self-care. But I feel called to minister to women. But for you, have you ever experienced burnout? Number one. And number two, if you did, how did it present itself? Because for some, it's the overwhelm. For some, there's physical things that happen, depression, things like that. And then the third part of that question, I'll repeat these if you don't remember them. How did you get out of it? Like, how did you work your way out of burnout?
Yeah, I have, it's weird that everything you asked me, I feel like Mandy and I have talked about in the last day or two. I have the gift of not caring that much. Like, I say that with all respect. Like, I don't get rattled that much. I don't get overwhelmed very much. I don't know why that I have that ability, because we handle a lot of things. Mm-hmm. But I have been I have been burned out about certain things. We had a house that we couldn't get rid of, which is a weird thing to say in this market, back about 4 years ago. And I never could stop thinking about it. It kept me up at night. I worried all the time about the financial drain. It was a big house. It was a rental house. I had a tenant in it. And it made me obsess. And I obsessed about things I couldn't control. So it just kept me, I probably didn't eat as well as I should. I know I didn't rest as well as I should. And I'm a sleeper. Like usually I can sleep on the drop of a dime. We sold that house. I didn't learn anything during the process. I didn't get good at it while it was going on. We finally sold it. And I didn't realize the amount of stress that I felt. I also felt that when I was taking care of my mom, she was sick for a long time. And the last 3 years she lived with me and I was her caretaker. And I didn't realize at the time, if anyone's out there doing this, taking care of a parent or a child or anybody that's sick, you don't realize what you're feeling until after it's over with.
Right.
And when it was done, I remember somebody telling me, you don't know, you're not taking care of yourself either. You're going to know that. And when she passed away, that was the biggest recovery for me was putting myself back together. Like I didn't think about myself at all, which is you think is a good thing. Right. But when you don't do self-care, it'll show itself. Mandy feels burnout. We sat with my coach about 6 months ago. In the first 15 minutes that he met Mandy, he said, "Are you burned out?" Because she feels it because with kids and she's getting ready to have another baby and all of that is a big deal. Yeah. For her. And I don't know if we handle it exactly right. We try to take walks together. We try to eat dinners together. I try to cheerlead and say, if it all goes away, it's fine. Yeah. So there's fear. There's fear when you live the lives that we live, this great businesses that we've had put us in a position where we live a pretty nice life. Right. Right. But there's a fear of that going away. Yeah. Mandy and I are both from families that had nothing. And I remember what that was like. And she remembers it. And we don't want to go back there. So we deal with that a little bit more. And I guess you could call that burnout. I've just done all I can do to worry about it. But that's a great question. I don't know if I answered all three parts of it, but.
No, you did. You did. And I think, one of the questions I was going to ask, and it sounds like you already do. So you were talking earlier about having a coach, or I heard you reference that you have a coach. So I think it's important as entrepreneurs to have a mentor, have a coach, to delegate, ask for help. And that was kind of a question I was going to ask you because of the dynamic of having 4, businesses and the kids and more on the way. What sort of help do you have? What are some ways that you support yourself to help prevent burnout, right? That we were just talking about.
Yeah, I have 3 coaches right now. Mandy and we share 2, and then I have 1 separate. The main reason we have coaches is to be in a community of people that is going through the same things that we go through. I think, it's called empathy, but I think you learn a lot from people that are older and younger that go through the same things that you go through. And if you pay attention, you can learn lessons. You don't have to live it yourself. Right. Yeah. So that's the main reason. It's not necessarily for development or growth, but although that happens for me, it's to be able to know, like I get on social media and I'm connected with a lot of people that I never wouldn't have been in all parts of the country. And I know you did this in your business where you can just learn from them. I take their posts and I share them in our market. Right. And it's just it's a nice common ground because an entrepreneur life can be lonely, really lonely. Because time doesn't allow, you can't imagine that personal development is as important as anything else that you do. Like you don't want to spend money on yourself. Right. It's kind of contrary to what being an entrepreneur is all about. I mean, I heard Darren Hardy say one time, who was the editor of Success Magazine and is an incredibly successful coach. He said he spends 10%. He committed to this when he was 18 years old. 10% of his income is on personal development. Yeah. 10%. And now he makes probably, I don't know, $8 or $9 million a year.
He spoke at one of our conferences years ago. Yeah.
So he spends a ton of money on, and I see some of my colleagues spending a lot more money than I do, but that personal development is important. Sometimes entrepreneurs like to stand on their own. And quite frankly, if you don't know how to run a business or you're not running a business the right way and it's not profitable, you don't have that money. Right. Yeah. You're struggling to get it going. Right. And I know you probably, I would do free coaching for people if they're in that spot just to get them to where they are profitable. Right. Right. But that's the way we look at it. That's the way we look at it.
So, and you don't have to tell me specifically what they are, but they're business and personal coaches. Did you say that?
Yes.
Like mentorships. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I know you're working out. So I'm super excited to see that you've invested in that. What, in the last 2 years? You really kind of.
Well, I started. Yeah. You know this about me, Martine, and everybody that I know closely knows this. There's no such thing as just a business coach for me. It turns personal. It always turns personal because I have my life right here. Like I'm going to tell you how I feel. If I don't feel good, I'm going to tell you if it's, so Mandy laughs when I'm on the phone with one of our coaches. He's a very dot your I's and cross your T's. He's a business guy. He doesn't have very many friends probably, but I've broken him down now. I mean, he sends me pictures of his grandbabies and all his deers that he hunts. And Mandy's like, I don't even know how you did it. I'm like, well, it's because life's too short. I want to know people. But so last February, I finally went to the gym for the first time. I'd never been really, I went to ISI for a period of time, but I'd never had a trainer. I never invested in myself that way. And I did that last February. So I'm a year and a few months in, and I still am so passionate. We do a lot of one-on-ones. I go 3 times a week, one-on-one. Yeah. And it's changed. It hasn't changed my body that much, which I'm sick about, but I know I'm stronger. My mind is so different though. I told Wade, my trainer, Wade Marsh at 180 Degree Fitness in Myrtle Beach. Shout out to Wade. He'd be a great podcast guest, by the way. He's a wonderful guy, but I tell him, when I first started, there were at least 8 or 9 times during my first workout that I would have quit if he wasn't there going, don't quit. Right. And that's what I've learned. I've learned to push myself past that quit without him. It's like he was my accountability partner first, but now he's grown me to where I can push myself past most of it, but he's still there to push me past the hard things. And what a lesson in all areas of our lives, right? That it's easy to quit. David Goggins, do you know that name?
Oh yeah.
So he's got a book called Can't Hurt Me, and I wouldn't recommend listening to it at church, but he says we realize about 40% of our potential when we push ourselves. But when you have someone else push you, you can realize about 70% of your potential, which to me was like, whoa. And it's been so true in the gym for me. So I wasn't even counting Wade as a coach, but he's definitely been that for me in the last year and a few months. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. So what are you most excited about right now, Tad, in this season, which I know is probably a very timely question, considering the shifts that we're, starting to see, but this could be personal or professional. Like, what are you just most excited about in this season that you find yourself in?
You mean in the summer season or season of life?
Season of life.
Season of life.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling this is coming across very Pollyanna. Like I sound a little bit like a self-improvement book in a way. And I'm not trying to sound, this is just who I am. And if you doubt me, call me. Like, I want to give my contact information. You guys call me and talk to me in person. But I told someone yesterday, I'm in real estate, all our businesses are related to real estate. And this is a weird time in the economy. Yeah. I think we're going to hear in July that we're in a recession. I think they're going to say those words for the first time on the media, and it's going to cause a lot of people to freak out. And, but I told someone yesterday, I would be the guy that would own the last blockbuster in America while Netflix is kicking their tail. And I would be part of the string quartet on the Titanic. As the boat's going down, I'm playing my heart out. Right. That's who I am. I feel like this is the land of opportunity in business for anyone, but especially for us. If you're a professional, you're full-time, you're committed to your clients, because in the next 18 months, there's going to be a lot of people leave our industry because they just don't know what to do. Right. So professionally, I'm excited about that because I think we're going to gain a lot of market share and really turn some things on, I think. That's my opinion. Personally, I wish you could see the faces of I just love my kids and my wife so much. I'm so excited about this new boy. Although I'll be honest, Mandy and I are like, are we crazy? We seriously can't handle what we have. I know our parents think that. Her parents think that. Her parents we told them we were pregnant. And I know that they said congratulations, but they were thinking, are you kidding me? Right. Because we can't, this morning, we only had 2 of our 3 kids and it was chaos. Right. But I cherish the chaos. I just think it's so rich to have. I'm trying to have as many kids as I can because I want somebody to take care of me when I'm 75. But I'm genuinely excited about this new boy. I'm excited about our little girl's going to be in 2nd grade, and we're going to have a kindergartner at Christian Academy next year, Hazel. Aww. And I tell people she's going to make a difference. I just hope it's a positive difference in this world. So family, I'm super excited about, and we're also excited about Mandy's transition in our businesses. She is working her way out of some responsibilities, some of the minutia that she's been tied up in. I'm excited about that. So I'm
Very
just
cool.
excited. I'm excited. I'm sorry. That's who
You
I am.
are. You just, I mean, and again, y'all, if you were able to just sit down and have coffee with Tad, you would know, like, this is just who he is. And it's why people are drawn to that, because it is Shaw was saying this the other day. He's like, I don't think people, he was talking about me, but I'll say this about you. Like, you don't even realize sometimes why people are drawn to you. And it's because you do have that positive energy and that vibe, and it's refreshing, to see, because there are so many people that are kind of that doom and gloom and Debbie Downer and always looking for every problem, for every solution. So it is refreshing, and you are that way. So I appreciate that. And we need more of that on podcasts and on social media to really let people see, like, not everything has to be so doom and gloom. You can be excited even in this season. You can be excited even when there's COVID going on. I mean, it's a mindset you choose, right? It's not like, it's just a mindset you choose. You wake up just like you choose your outfit. You choose how you're going to show up that day, what you're going to think, what you're going to allow in, how you're going to communicate. And it's not perfect. We're not perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I think Warren Buffett said it best: when there's adversity, there's opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I choose the opportunity. So, and I wanted to say something about you, if I can. I've appreciated our friendship a lot over the years. And I'm so amazed. You were like the cliche or sayings queen. Like, when I listen to your podcast, I hear you say things like, and I'm just like, that's exactly what I was thinking. How in the world did she just put it in a word? I mean, you should, if you haven't thought of a book title yet, or another book title, you should do just like, I don't know, Martine's Turquoise Sayings or something. Because I every time I listen to you, I'm like, there was another one, So, but yeah, I mean, you took the words out of my mouth when you said you choose. Mm-hmm. I think we choose. I got a text from a guy, and I hope he doesn't listen to the podcast, but not for your sake, but for mine. He was just like, I'm not going to do so-and-so because of the crash, that's the pending crash.
Right.
Coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm going to go all in because of the pending crash. Like, right. We built our business in 2007. Like, when Mandy started, was the worst time you could ever have opened a business.
Right.
But there was tons of opportunity around every corner. And you watch what happens in our industry in the next 24 months. A lot of people are going to get out. Yep. And there's going to be all those customers and clients that don't have a person anymore. And I'm going to be that person. That's the way I look at it. So,
yeah. It's one of Shaw's favorite quotes is, in every obstacle is an opportunity, and every opportunity there's an obstacle. It's just what you choose to see. Right. And I agree. It's going to be an interesting thing to kind of watch, as we go through these next season with the economy and just life. But I'm going to be surrounding myself with people like you, because we need, as positive as we are, we still need those other people to be like, okay, it's okay. You can have a bad day, but let's get back together. Let's get back to where your mindset needs to be. And that's where you have a coach and mentorships and all those things. But I just appreciate you coming on. And I just want to end with kind of a final question. If you had a chance to talk to, not even just husbands, but I mean, you are a husband, but someone's biggest support might be their mom, right? Or their best friend, or, that's who they want to be their main support person. And they're really struggling with that. If you could speak to the support person of the mompreneur, like, what would you want them to understand or know?
That is a great question. And if that first thing that pops in my head is, it sounds cliche, but listen. And this is funny for me to say, listen more than you talk, and listen with, try to understand what the person is feeling and where they're coming from when they talk, and why they have those opinions. I just heard someone say the other day that I thought was fascinating. Like, when you're listening and you just did it, I can see Martine we're on the Zoom call, so I can see her face, and I don't know, you guys can't see us, but as I'm talking, she nods her head a lot in agreement. Mm-hmm. I just heard someone say not too long ago that, try this. When you're listening to someone that's telling you how they really feel, don't nod this way. Don't say no, or yes, yes, yes. Just sit stoic and really listen. Because by nodding, you're almost encouraging them to continue down a certain path that you want them to continue down,
right? Rather
than just take it in. And think of two questions that you can ask to go a little bit deeper with what they just said. I get tired of, and this is a little bit of a soapbox, but I talk to people, and the first thing they do is they say, I have done this, or I went through something similar. It's called hitchhiking. That's the term. It's called hitchhiking. When someone jumps on your your topic and starts talking about themselves.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So I would encourage any support person to do is don't talk about yourself. Right. Listen and dig a little bit deeper into what your person that you're trying to support is really feeling. Ask a couple of deep questions, and then you have to have the courage to act on it. Right? You have to have the courage to support. But that would probably be my advice: is if we would really listen. And I'm talking to myself.
Oh yeah.
Because I need to do this more with my wife, even as probably at the end of this call, you're going to think I'm the perfect husband. But listen, it is
I'll have Mandy on next week.
Yeah, you should.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not telling her to listen to this because I'm sure none of it is right. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm talking to myself, and I need to look her in the eye more. I think there's, we lose eye contact. I do that with my children. Like, when's the last time you looked your child in the eye?
Yeah.
And try to find out what's going on behind the glass there, right? And do that with the person you're trying to support, I think is essential so that we can really connect. If we don't connect, I just don't think it's worth even doing it. I really don't. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, I think personal connections with human beings is why we're here. So I'm going to try to do that as long as I can anyway.
Yeah. Love it. And now I'm trying not to nod. I've heard the flip side. Like you can get people to really agree with what you're saying by nodding and raising your hand, and they'll raise their hand. It's one of those speaker things. So next time you're talking to someone, they're trying to sell you or convince you on something, that's what they're doing. And you're like,
yes. Right. Yeah, I do it too. I can't keep my bobbing head still.
I don't think I could do it. I'm not a big hands person, but I don't think I could, because it's my way. I'm like, yeah, I understand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It is empathetic, but it does. Yeah. This person's perspective was it takes them down a path that you want them to go down, rather than like if you said something I didn't agree with and I was like this, it shuts you down.
Oh yeah.
And if you do the nod, it takes them down your path rather than just sit and listen. And it's hard. It's hard. I'm not great at it. I just heard it a few days ago, so I haven't learned how to do it yet. But
I'll try that. Yeah, you all try that in your next conversations. I'll report back to me. Let me know how it goes. Okay, so just some like quick, fast questions. I always like to ask like what some of your favorites are. So, what's your favorite book that you're either have just recently read or like your all-time favorite book? Because I'm a reader.
Yeah. Favorite movie is Dead Poet Society. You didn't ask that, but I'll throw that in there. And Top Gun, of course. Top Gun.
Oh, Maverick.
The new one. Listen,
so
Tom Cruise, second only to me in his physical fitness in his 50s. My favorite book right now is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yep.
And Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. They both say the same thing. It's the little things in business and life and marriage and relationships. The little daily commitments lead to big successes. So that would be my, was that what you asked? Just the book, right? Did you ask anything else?
And then favorite quote or favorite scripture, something that's like, if you're feeling discouraged, this is what your go-to is. Yeah.
So the thing I said all during 2020 was the only way to lose is to quit. The only way to lose is to quit. If you don't quit, if you last longer, you win. Yeah. So I like that. My favorite Bible verse, I've got a couple, but without a vision, people perish. I don't remember where I think that's in Jeremiah, but I can't remember the exact verse. Without a vision, people perish. And I also love, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves. I said this a lot during COVID.
Yeah.
Seek my face, pray. Then I will hear them and I'll heal their land. I think America needs that. I think we need to listen. We need to admit to God that we are failures. We're falling short of what He expects us to do. We need to pray. We need to listen. We need to lift other people up, and He'll take care of the rest. So those are two that I really like.
Awesome. And do you have a favorite like resource or app that you're using right now, either professionally or personally? I mean, I feel like there's an app for everything. Is there one that you're like, couldn't live without this app? I use it every day.
My phone. I mean, I use my phone a lot. I think it sounds old fashioned, but I don't. I do text a lot. I do BombBomb is a great. I don't know if you've heard of that.
That's the video recording thing, right? That you can send through an email. I got one yesterday. Somebody was actually asking to come on the podcast. And he's like, here, I left you a little 1-minute video. And it was so personal. I'm like, I know about this. Why am I not using this?
Yeah, BombBomb is good. We have so many people in our organization. I do a lot of videos, just quick 1-minute videos during the day where I'll shoot it to them. It's also very effective with your family. So BombBomb is a good one. There's also for you a video app called BigView. I don't know if you've heard of that, BIGVU. For those of you out there that do videos, it has a teleprompter. So you can actually write a script, and on your computer or on your phone in a ring light, the script will roll and you look right at your camera and you say so those of you that aren't comfortable doing video, off the cuff like I am.
Right.
You can actually do a script, and then you can add music to it, and it's free. I mean, it doesn't even cost any money. So
awesome.
those are two that I use a lot. I talk a lot, so I like talking apps. Of course I do.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll put the links to those in the show notes, the book and that app, because I didn't know about that last one. So that's really cool. Really cool. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you for being on here. And we'll include, Taz, he said, if you don't believe him, call him or whatever you said. I'm just kidding. But we'll put the resource links. Anything he talked about, we'll put it in the show notes. And then, of course, the link to Remax. If you want to give me links to your businesses, we'll add those in the show notes as well, or whatever. But this was fun. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, you do an amazing work. I've always respected you as a business person. I don't even mean businesswoman, a business person. And I just pray that you'll continue to inspire, challenge, lift up, just like you do. Proud to be in the same community that you're in. And you guys stay close to Martine. She'll take you incredible places. So thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Well, awesome. As the encourager that he is, he always has to end it with lifting someone else up. So I think I could probably compliment you, and then you're going to compliment me again. Like, it would just be this tag team back and forth. So we'll just end this. And you all know, thank you so much for continuing to support the podcast, and just know that I'm always believing in you. We'll talk to you next time. Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.